time for us to have a look ahead to the weekend across the Championship. And of course, we'll kick things off with our game of the weekend. It's the clash on Friday night between Sheffield United and Sunderland at Bramall Lane. Sheffield United are the favourites for this one with SBK. They are evens. A Sunderland win is 29-10 and the draw is 23-10. But the big question is, Justin, what derby is it?
Danny Higginbottom.
No, it's not the Danny Higginbottom derby, but good to hear him mentioned. It's the John Stead derby. Of course it is. Surprisingly, not a huge amount of crossover between these two. Did Danny Higginbottom even play for Sheffield United?
Yeah, he did. It was one of his last full-time spells before becoming a pundit. I checked this earlier.
Really?
I checked this earlier. I knew this was coming up and I wanted to fact check it. It was a brief spell. They might have been in League One at the time. Might have been around the time he turned out for Gibraltar as well.
Yes, of course. 15 appearances at Sheffield United. He loved playing for teams in red and white, didn't he? Old Higgo. But yeah, surprisingly, not a huge amount of crossover between these two teams. But John Stead feels the most apt for me out of all the options. Anyway, this is a proper How's Your Mother, Justin. Two teams have put themselves well in contention for automatic promotion with their early season form. And they have been the two pace setters of this championship season up until very recently, haven't they?
Yeah, they have. They've been exceptional both sides. Of course, as well, it's the battle of the stripes. I would like to think that the winner becomes known as the white stripes or the red stripes. Which would you have it?
I don't know where this is going.
No.
I would just like to just carry on wearing red and white stripes, I think.
Yeah, I just wanted to throw that up as a question. It might make both sets of these fans think very deeply about their clubs, whether they have white stripes or red stripes. Anyway, yeah, it is.
Are they a white shirt with red stripes, or are they a red shirt with white stripes? Is that what you mean?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But just trying to keep it concise. But yeah, this is two teams who have been very convincing so far this season. Both have been very difficult to break down. I think if you're going to label or throw anything at them, is they've both been very good defensively. They've had hiccups going forwards at times, but defensively they've been both exceptional, very, very assured and structured at the back. And it might be a case of the home team, Sheffield United, going into this a bit happier, given the availability and injury problems for the visitors.
Yeah. Commiserations to Stoke for being forgotten about in the red and white shirt derby in Justin Peach's mind. Sunderland were at one point the best team in the league, not just in terms of points, but in terms of performances as well. They were genuinely blowing teams away. But recently, I think Sheffield United have taken that crown, and I would say they have been the best team so far, even if Leeds are top of the league right now. I suppose Sheffield United have had a 2 points deduction, so they are technically the best team in the league in the points tally as well. But I've just been so impressed with them and continue to be very impressed with them as well. One of the reasons why they've been so good, Justin, of course, is because they've turned Bramall Lane into a proper fortress, haven't they? They've won their last 7 games on home soil. They haven't conceded a goal in nearly 11 hours of football at Bramall Lane, which is a remarkable record, isn't it?
Yeah, it's incredible. A stadium so solid, it's forged in steel. Ugh. I just made that up on the spot. I've been listening to too much Peter Drury.
Yeah, beautiful.
The record at Bramall Lane is ridiculous. Having won 7 and drawn 1, only conceded 2 goals in that time. Both of those goals came in a game against QPR in August. It's a remarkable record.
Of all teams.
Yeah, of all teams. And defensively, they've just been astounding at shutting teams out. They've not been prolific creators like a Middlesbrough, for example. I think, nor have they been resolute at shutting teams out like Leeds. Still very good, and Burnley. But they've been very good at managing opposition and managing their own games. So I think that's been a big catalyst in Bramall Lane being a very, very difficult place to go for away sides.
If I were to play devil's advocate, I would point out they haven't had the toughest set of games at home yet. Of course, they've had the Steel City derby, but otherwise it would have been a surprise if they didn't win in any of those 7 games they've had so far. So you could make an argument that this is their first massive test at Bramall Lane, because I would say Sunderland are quite easily the best team they've faced at the Lane so far. So that's what's making this even more fascinating a game. But Sunderland, they're not a team in a great position right now, are they? It's 5 draws on the bounce, which isn't terrible, but it's not great by any means, especially compared to how they were playing earlier on in the season. We haven't given much coverage to their recent struggles, Justin, mainly because those games haven't been the most exciting, let's be honest. So they need to get back on that horse quickly, don't they, if they want to keep up being in contention for the top 2.
Yeah, you're coming up to a time in the season that's pivotal in terms of creating a run of results that really does put a lot of points on the board. You're going to be playing a lot of games in December, and you're going to be playing, a couple of teams that you might have already played before this season, or you're going to play in succession 2 teams. 2 teams like you might play Sheffield United twice, for example, in the space of a month. So it's going to be a really important period for the Black Cats, and I think the other thing you've got to throw into the account is it's very hard to put your finger on why Sunderland have been struggling. I think the only really significant factor you can throw in there is player availability. They're missing a lot of first teamers, a lot of players that have been key in their starting 11, like Romain Mundle, like Joe Bellingham, like Alan Brown, Anthony Patterson as well. The goalkeeper's been out injured. So they've been really, they've been dealt with a significant blow on that front. But I think the big thing you've got to think about is they haven't been losing games. They've still been in games. The character's there. Still lost just 2 games this season. The form's bumpy, but the ability to beat them is still difficult.
Yeah, it definitely is. I think player availability has to be put down as the main factor, I would imagine, because you mentioned some there. Justin Dennis Serkin's another one who is just such a big miss because he has been arguably Sunderland's best player so far. Regis Labris has said he's hopeful Serkin could be back here, so we'll see if that happens or not. I think Romain Mundle is the other one who I would say is proven to be a really big miss for Sunderland because they've not had the same zip going forwards recently as they did before, not just because of the fact it is only 3 goals in the last 5, but the underlying data backs up that they've not been creating as many chances as they were previously. So they need to improve, but it's going to be very tricky against a Sheffield United side as well organised as this one. So if they do get a result, it'd be bloody impressive. I'll say that much. Just have you seen, by the way, that Ricky Gervais is apparently a Sunderland fan? He was on that Gary Neville podcast where they talk about Sir Alex Ferguson constantly, and he revealed he became a fan after watching Sunderland Till I Die during COVID. How about that?
Yeah, that's that generally did pique my interest, and I think we were just talking about Sunderland Till I Die the other week, weren't we? About how it's the outlier in terms of football documentaries, and I think if you're getting someone, he said himself, he's not been a fan of football for 30 years. If you're getting someone who's been alien to the sport for 30 years, and you can make them fall in love with it, just go to show how much of an impact that documentary had on the neutral, if you like. But yeah, what a weird way to get back into it. And I think the key thing that I want to know is what was his reaction when Lincoln lost in the playoffs prior to them getting League One promotion. That's what I want to know.
Well, who knew? Who knows? Eh? Who knows what Ricky Gervais is thinking? Not sure if it's a good thing or not. Ricky Gervais being a Sunderland fan. If I was a Sunderland fan, he's one of those who I'm just not sure about. Anyway, we'll move on. Justin, it's now time for our second tier bet builder with SBK, and a reminder of how SBK are helping you nail your bet builder this season, dear listener, because if you've ever backed a player and they get subbed off, it's bloody annoying, isn't it? You don't need to worry about that anymore though, because with SBK's Fresh Legs promotion, if your player gets subbed, the bet carries over to the player coming on. So whether you do need a shot on target, a yellow card or a goal for that player, Fresh Legs means you're still in the game. And SBK are the only bookmaker, the only one offering this on every championship game this season, meaning there really is no better place to bet on the second tier. And in addition to that, as if there's any more you need, they're offering a 25% winnings boost on all bet builders for Sheffield United v Sunderland. So why not sign up for SBK and join the thousands of people already taking advantage of Fresh Legs every weekend, as well as their winnings boosts. And let's be honest, you'll be kicking yourself if you don't. So every Friday, we're making our own bet builder with 4 selections, all relating to our game of the week. So that's 2 for Justin and 2 for me. Justin, let us know what your first selection is, please.
I've gone with Sheffield United to have over 13.5 shots Now, the Blades have had over 13.5 shots in all but one of their games this season at Bramall Lane. And that game that they didn't manage it was the Steel City derby against Sheffield Wednesday. A notoriously tight game if you were to follow the football cliches. They're going to test Sunderland. They've got ability in their squad. They're going to coordinate attacks and not be too open themselves. Everything will be measured. Obviously, they're going to have a tough opposition in Sunderland. And it's the first real test at Bramall Lane. But the numbers back this one up.
Yeah, they definitely do, Justin. Your stat there was absolutely spot on, and I think it's understandable that the only game that's not happened in this season was the Steel City derby, because you'd expect that to be quite cagey. But with how much Chrissy Wilder's boys have dominated at home, it would be safe to expect them to have a fair few pops at goals. So I think this is a good pick to kick off our bet builder. My first selection is Sunderland to get over 1.5 cards. It's Ryan's card pick of the week. It's so popular now that it's got its own jingle, although I can't remember what tune I used last week, so it might be completely different to whatever tune I'm going with. Yeah, who knows. Anyway, the referee for this is Gavin Ward. Now, we all know Gazza by now. He averages 4 yellow cards a game and has a particular tendency to give them to the away side. He's given 2 or more cards to the away side in each of the last 9 games he's officiated. So it seems like a good pick for the old bet builder, doesn't it, this, Justin?
Yeah, it does. Favouring the away side for yellow cards. Is he swayed by a home crowd, do we think? That would be a conspiracy theory, yeah. He doesn't like the atmosphere, old Gav, does he? But that's just speculation, I will add.
Well, who knows? Who knows why he does it? But the stats back up that it happens quite a lot when a Gazza is refereeing in these games. Let's go to your next selection, Justin.
I've gone with Sheffield United to keep a clean sheet. Bramall Lane's the cleanest stadium in the league. No sheet goes unwashed in South Yorkshire, is the well-known saying. Shutouts in all but one of their games at home this season, which was the early season 2-2 draw with QPR, as we have alluded to earlier on in the show. And even if Sunderland do break that formidable Blades defence, Mike Cooper's in goal for Sheffield United, one of the top performing goalkeepers in the division, someone you've touted to be the next Peter Shilton.
minus the obscene opinions on Twitter.
Minus the obscene opinions on Twitter and hatred for hands. But yeah, he's one of the top performing goalkeepers in the division, and he's going to be keen to take another accolade home, isn't he?
Yeah, I'm not sure I said the next Peter Shilton. I will point out. I think I said I wouldn't be surprised if he's involved in the England setup at some point. And I tell you what, since he's gone to Sheffield United, he has not done anything to disprove me in that shout, because he has been fantastic for Sheffield United so far this season, hasn't he? And you mentioned it there, Justin, nearly 11 hours of football at Bramall Lane without a goal. Going against Sheffield United is enough justification here, really, isn't it? There is a part of me that thinks, well, that's got to come to an end at some point, but with Sunderland's recent struggles in front of goal as well, failed to score in 3 of their last 5 games, it does give me confidence with this pick. So I like it, Peachy. And our final selection for the bet builder is Sheffield United to win. Look, goes without saying, Sheffield United are in top form. 5 wins from 6. The only game they failed to win in that time was the one where they went down to 10 men for the entire second half. And they've turned Bramall Lane into a fortress. 7 wins on the bounce. No goal conceded in that time is just a ridiculous record. And there's a lot of players banging form right now, particularly Tyrese Campbell, who's in his best vein of form in years, isn't he? So there's a lot to be excited about with the Blades. And unfortunately, Sunderland just seem to be in a bit of a lull, struggling for goals, struggling with injuries. Been a bit fortunate, actually, to avoid defeat in their last 5 games, if you look at the underlying data. And this is about as stiff a test as they'll have faced this season. And you'd be a brave man to back anything other than a Blades win, I think, Justin, in this one. Hence why I'm going for a Sheffield United win. Yeah,
it's an easy one to agree with here. Don't get me wrong, I think Sunderland could battle, and it could be a difficult game for Sheffield United, but the odds of that happening, especially in Sheffield United's home form generally, they've got goal scorers now in their team who are performing. Raksiaki's on the wing brilliantly. Callum O'Hare scored midweek again, which is a rare thing, but once he gets going, he gets going. Tyrese Campbell, you mentioned, is in his best form since he injured his knee all those years ago under Michael O'Neill at Stoke. It's really difficult to pick anyone but Sheffield United here. Could be an awkward game for the Blades, but I'd expect that to be the case with Sunderland. But have they got enough quality in their team to overcome them? Not right now.
No, I'd be surprised if it was anything other than a Sheffield United win. Sometimes we approach these games of the weeks and I say home win's probably the most likely results, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's a draw with this one. I think you'd be surprised if it's anything but a Sheffield United win. So our bet builder for Sheffield United v Sunderland this weekend is Sheffield United to have over 13.5 shots, Sunderland to get over 1.5 cards, Sheffield United to keep a clean sheet, and Sheffield United to win. And the £10 stake on that returns £75 thanks to SBK's boosting the odds by 25%. But remember, if you don't fancy our bet builder with SBK, you can create your own bet builder from a range of markets. T's and C's apply, over 18s only, and please do gamble responsibly. Justin, let's take a quick break. After that, we'll make some more predictions ahead of the weekend. Welcome back to the Second Tier Podcast. So let's have a look ahead to the weekend, and of course in each preview episode of the Second Tier, Justin and I will each pick a banker, a team we think is guaranteed to win this coming weekend, as well as an outsider, so someone we think is going to win but is bigger odds with our friends at SBK than their opponent. And we're tracking how we do it as the season goes on. It's 1 point for a correct banker, 2 points for an outsider. Whoever loses has to do a forfeit, which is to be a mascot at an EFL game next season. The current scores look like this: 16-11 to Justin Peach. Now, I did pull 1 point back last weekend as my banker came in, although for anyone who didn't hear, Justin has got a game in hand because Blackburn v Portsmouth, which was his banker, was postponed. So he'll get that point added on if Blackburn win whenever that game is played. A bit of unhelpful confusion, which we really didn't need, but that's just the way it goes, I suppose. Just in a lot of banker options this weekend, I thought we were flushed for choice. What did you think?
Yeah, absolutely chock full of them. If anyone listened to yesterday's show, I am not the best when overwhelmed with options. So we'll see if I've picked the right one, shall we?
Yes, very interesting. Justin, reveal to the world what your banker is for this weekend.
I've gone with Norwich to win at home to Luton on Saturday afternoon. Norwich at Carrow Road is still good banker proposition. Doesn't matter what form they're in, doesn't matter. Well, it does actually, but it remains the point. It's still good banker proposition. Coming off the back of a 6-1 home win against Plymouth, and that showcases the swashbuckling nature this Norwich team can adopt. And going into this one, they're up against a Luton side that, in my opinion, are just horrific. They're horrific. They can cause Norwich problems. Absolutely no doubt about that. And Carlton Morris is heading back to his former club, which could present some narrative. But with Norwich's ability to attack and Boye sides flying, Kenny McLean back in the starting 11, the odds are rightly in the Canaries' favour. I'm not a big fan of Rob Edwards at the moment either. He's doing the same thing over and over again, hoping for a different result. Going to do it here, going to get punished, in my opinion.
Well, there you go. Justin, how about you say what you really feel? It's got to be said. We didn't talk about this game in yesterday's episode, Justin. Leeds v Luton, but Luton offered next to nothing in that game. Rob Edwards even admitted afterwards that they just didn't get near Leeds. And, well, Leeds are obviously a very, very good side. It's the manner of the defeat which just once again piles the pressure on Rob Edwards. And it feels like he's been on the brink now for months, doesn't it, Justin? If they lose here, where do you think that leaves him?
The position's untenable. It's untenable now. I don't understand what is going through the process at Luton. He should have gone after the Middlesbrough game. If I'm going to be honest, I'm not going to clamour for people to lose their jobs because it's not exactly a nice thing. But this football club has hit a full stop, and when the manager's doing the same thing over and over again and hoping for something different, my goodness, what are you doing? The board level, what are you doing? Rob Edwards, what are you doing? It's not about effort levels anymore. That was the problem earlier on in the season. It's still a problem now. But tactically, this team's got nothing to offer. nothing to offer. They're very easy to work out, and I think Norwich and old Hoff, the manager of Norwich, I think they're very clever. They're going to work it out very quickly.
Rob Edwards does seem to have a habit this season of managing to get a win just when he looks like he is out of the door, which is frustrating, because what often seems to happen after that is it's a case of one step forward, two steps backward with Luton. So interesting to see if that happens again. But if they do lose here, then how much patience have the Luton hierarchy really got left? They must be nearing the end at this stage. And I'm the same as you, Justin. I'm not clamouring for him to be sacked, but it feels like it's a bit futile at this stage, just sticking with him, doesn't it? Let's go to my banker for this weekend. It's Middlesbrough to beat Hull at Saturday lunchtime. Now, this is, of course, Hull's first game since sacking Tim Volter. Is he Heisenberg's inept little brother, Justin? Because I've been hearing a lot of Hull fans saying Walter shite recently. Get it? You hearing that?
Yeah, I love that.
Thank you. Yeah, basically, Hull are in a right old pickle because their season is really breaking bad. The Volter sacking had been coming for a long time. 4 losses on the bounce. No win in 9. This is a side with a lot of problems, which won't be solved by just simply sacking the manager. Plenty of injuries, confidence rock bottom, and a lack of a killer instinct in front of goal. It's just 4 goals in 9 games now for Hull. And they're facing a Borough side who have had no problem finding the net in recent times. They had 3 wins in 3 prior to midweek, scoring 15 in that time. They are coming off the back of a pretty surprising loss to Blackburn on Wednesday night. They were missing Finazaz, who was only ill, so should hopefully be back this weekend. They could have a couple of others back for this game too. So I think midweek was just a blip for Middlesbrough, and ultimately I'm just rubbing this in for you, Justin, because Borough fans say there's a second tier curse whenever we back them, but no, that only applies when Justin Peach backs them. I've got a 100% record backing Borough this season, baby, and I think they'll do the business for me again this weekend, Justin.
Just bear with me one second. I've got my phone out to just double check when you sent your banker in. Your verdict.
It was before midweek, if that's what you're checking.
Yeah, it was 3:00 on Wednesday, which was before the Borough game, correct?
It was before they faced Blackburn, yes.
Yeah.
But my thinking was that I would still be fancying Middlesbrough, even if the unthinkable did happen and they lost, and they did lose. But I just think it was a blip. That's all I'm pointing out to. Just a mere blip, Justin.
It was a blip, but if there was any speculation as to whether or not the curse is real, Finazaz develops an illness. Borough lose the game because of an offside call in which the linesman couldn't keep up with play. Oof.
Where are you going with this?
I'm suggesting that the curse is real. We shouldn't back Borough. I've got nothing to add on the game other than it's a very bankable fixture.
Well, speaking of Hull, Justin, according to reports, Hull would like to speak to Mark Robins about the vacancy. What do you think about that, Peachy?
I don't think they'll get Mark Robins. I think that's the first thing I'll point out. But this does fill me with a lot of confidence that they're going in a direction they need to go in as a football club. I think firstly, if I was Mark Robins, I would take it easy for a bit. He deserves a holiday. He needs a trip away. Go travel abroad. Go do South America, Mark. You might enjoy it. And get some culture in you and come back to the UK and find a job that is right for you once again. But as I say, I like that Hull are thinking about it. It's a logical fit for their situation. He's someone who can come in and have complete control of a situation that would relieve the pressure of what I think is a sailless club. They don't have any sails for the wind to carry them forwards. I think I've seen Steve Cooper touted as well. Just speculation, but they're two similar personalities. They've got low temperaments. They're good at building relationship with fans. Yes, I think it's a positive link. Will it happen? I don't think it will, but that's the direction Hull need to go in, I think.
It would be very interesting to see how he would do in another championship job, wouldn't it? Firstly, because it would presumably be without Adi Vivesh, who was Robins's right-hand man for a long time, and his departure after they fell out seems to have been a big reason as to why everything's gone so wrong for Coventry this season. But also, just to see what Mark Robins would be like outside the prism of Coventry City, because it's been nearly 9 years since he managed another club other than them, Justin. So seeing him in another environment would be strange, but undeniably very interesting. TalkSport say Slavisa Jokanovic is the leading contender for the job, though. How about that, eh? Feels like he has managed them before, but he hasn't. And I don't know why I feel like that, but it does feel like that's the case. Anyway, we can discuss that more at the weekend if it indeed happens before then, or it looks like it's closer to happening before then. Anyway, we've had mine and Justin's two bankers for the weekend, and every week we combine these two selections with a bet on the full-time result of our game of the weekend to create our very own second-tier featured multiple with SBK. So this week we're going for Middlesbrough, Norwich and Sheffield United, all to win. And this weekend, SBK are offering another 20% ACCA boost for the championship. They can't stop, Justin, with all these offers. They are loving it, aren't they? So a £10 bet on our multiple returns £77 thanks to SBK, boosting the odds by 20%. And with SBK, you can create your own multiple with 3 more bets on the full-time results of any game from across the championship. And for any ACCA with a minimum of 3 selections, you get a 20% boost. That offer expires at 3 p.m. on Saturday. T's and C's apply. Over 18s only. And please do gamble responsibly. Now, we said earlier there were loads of appealing banker picks this weekend. Not so much for outsiders, I thought, Justin. A lot more difficult to pick one of these. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, you have to be very savvy, which I think I have been with mine. It's some stat looking, and I am intrigued. My eyes have, they lit up when I found some of the information out that I found out. So yeah, you are right. Outsiders were slim.
Interesting, ladies and gents. I can tell you, Justin is going bold here, literally and figuratively. So, Justin, reveal to us your outsider for this weekend.
I've just realised something that might completely scupper my stats.
Okay.
I've gone with Blackburn to beat Leeds at 1:30 on Saturday afternoon. Now, I assume this game was a 12:30 kickoff.
Okay.
Leeds have failed to win a 12:30 game this season.
Oh, for God's sake, your stats on all around 12:30 kickoffs. First of all, as you say, not 12:30. Second of all, it's completely meaningless. What are you talking about?
It's not meaningless because this run stretches back to last February. The last time they won.
How about you just term it early kickoffs instead?
I'll go with a lunchtime kickoff because I think 1:30 still falls into that category.
Okay.
Yeah, you like a late lunch. 1:30 is a late lunch. So yeah, Leeds have failed to win a lunchtime kickoff this season. In fact, this run stretches back to last February when they beat Plymouth 2-0. In addition to this, they haven't scored an opening goal, or they have scored an opening goal just once in this run of lunchtime kickoffs. Mix this with Blackburn being a very decent side at Ewood Park at home. This is a nice outsider pick. Ballsy, I tell you. There is a bit of sheepishness in my voice because the whole thing was based around it being 12:30, but I think it still counts. It's an earlier kickoff.
Well, there you go, ladies and gents. Justin Peach has based his whole pick around what time the game kicks off. Nothing to do with the strength of the teams, nothing to do with the form of the teams. It's based purely around what time the game is. And some people may think that's a valid reason, but I really don't.
You might not think it is, but a team failing to win an early kickoff for almost a year, 10 months is a considerable statistic. There'll be reasons for that. Their lunch times will be different. What they eat will be different. When they wake up will be different. If they've got to travel, which they do, that will be different. That'll impact all of this. These are all variables no one will ever think about, and frankly, I didn't think about until 30 seconds ago. So I think those things will have an effect on Leeds and their early kickoff woes.
All I'm hearing is a load of bollocks right now, a complete and utter load of bollocks. Before I heard your ridiculous reasoning, Justin, I thought this was a bit of a surprise pick. I know I said there weren't many appealing outsiders this weekend, but I'd have thought that this would be one of the ones to avoid the most because Leeds were sensational against Luton in midweek. As we said earlier, Luton didn't get near them, and we have been asking for them to show more consistency. Feels like they are starting to do that, and Blackburn have had a good couple of results recently. I would just want to avoid opposing Leeds at all costs right now, even if it is an early kickoff.
Yeah, well, that's why you're currently behind me in the scores, aren't you? You're not bold enough. You are bold enough, but you're not bold enough.
I'm behind a man who is basing his picks on what time the game kicks off, and he still got that wrong. That's how badly I've been doing this season, ladies and gents. I really need to sort things out, don't I? Anyway, let's go on to my outsider for the weekend. I've gone with Sheffield Wednesday to win away at Derby on Sunday afternoon. Now, admittedly, Wednesday are a tricky side to predict. You never really know which Wednesday team is going to turn up, perhaps best shown by the fact this season they've only had one occasion so far where the result has been the same over 2 consecutive league games. Over their last 6 league games, it's been win, loss, draw, win. Consistently inconsistent. That sums up Sheffield Wednesday perfectly so far this season, but I don't think their results necessarily match their performances. They definitely deserve the win against Hull in midweek. I don't know how they didn't beat Cardiff at the weekend. The Still City derby was a tight game where either could have won it, and then they were much the better team against Norwich before that. So I think their performances have been a lot more consistent than their results suggest. And they're going to a Derby side who have been showing a few cracks recently. It's just 1 win in 8 for them. They've been mostly a home comforts kind of side this season, but have only won 1 of their last 5 at Pride Park, including a loss against Swansea in midweek. Although I will say I have no idea how Derby lost that game. Actually, I do know how Derby lost that game. Caden Jackson is how they lost that game. He could have scored 4, but somehow didn't score any. But the bottom line is Derby can be got at. And so Wednesday should be fancying their chances here. Hence why I've gone for a Sheffield Wednesday win this weekend, Justin.
Yeah, I watched the Derby game. I was there for a change, and I got to the ground late as usual as the moment Jan Vopotnik spun and scored a really lovely goal. And it was that moment I was like, this isn't worth it. It's not worth it. Thanks, Paul One. You demoralised me. But you are right. This Derby team can be got at. They're quite poor. The first 25 minutes, I've never seen a team cut through another team with as much ease as Swansea did to Derby. I think Wednesday, I think the reason why they are inconsistent is because they're sometimes very good at counter-attacking. They're sometimes very good with the ball in possession. I think it's one of those balances that Danny Rorke's still trying to work out with this team. But I think with Shea Charles and Barry Bannon, I would expect Wednesday to dictate a lot of this game. And if they get it right and they beat Derby's press, they will hammer them. And that's, it's been very, very, very blunt. I think that will be the case, but that's a big if and but. They've got to do those things. Derby will work hard. They'll huff and puff, but they lack quality. Apart from, with set pieces, they're great. But open play, if Wednesday concede to Derby in open play, that would be a travesty.
One thing I will point out for anyone who believes in bogey teams is Sheffield Wednesday do have a honking record at Pride Park. They've not won that in their last 14 visits, all the way back to 2006. So that is a bit of a concern, but they've got a good chance to end that hoodoo here. So yeah, I'm still backing Wednesday despite that interesting stat for everyone there. Anyway, those have been our predictions for the weekend, and you know what time it is now, ladies and gents.
All right. Settle down, you lot. It's time for the Craig Bryson pub quiz.
Yes, it is, Mr. Barman. It is indeed the Craig Bryson pub quiz. And this is how it works. Justin is going to give me 6 clues about a championship player, past or present, each more revealing than the last. And I simply have to guess who it is. They must have made over 200 championship appearances in their career. And don't forget, the Dexter Blackstock rule is in play. So what have you got for me, Justin Peach, you bastard?
This one's a doozy. This one is a doozy. First clue is, and as always, is I've made 219 appearances and scored 50 goals.
50? That's got to be a striker then. Simply has to be a striker. So with that being said, I will go with Just in case you're trying to pull a little sneaky on me, Justin, I'll go with Dexter Blackstock.
No, it is not Dexter Blackstock.
At some point this season, one of us will try Dexter Blackstock.
Absolutely. But until then, here's mine. Despite making my professional debut in 2002, I did not make my championship debut until 2006.
Oh,
What could that mean? What could that mean?
What could that mean? Okay. How about... No, that doesn't make sense. No, I won't say him. How about a bit of Michael Chopra? Michael Chopra.
It's a good shout. A great shout. But it's not Michael Chopra. I don't think he's made over 200 appearances. He's never been on my list.
Maybe when you say that, you might be right. But he kind of fits the mould a bit anyway. What's the next one, Justin?
He does. The next one is, my Premier League debut came for Blackburn before making top flight appearances for Sheffield United and Sunderland.
Okay. I don't think the lines meet up here. The timelines meet up here. And I can't remember his bloody name either. He was the striker called Gray who used to play for Sunderland. It wasn't Andy Gray, was it?
Are you going with that?
Just tell me if that's right or wrong.
It's not Andy
please.
Gray. It's not Andy Gray.
Was his name Andy Gray?
It is Andy Gray, yeah. Archie Gray's dad.
Yeah. Is that the one I'm thinking of? No. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Anyway, move on.
It's not Archie Gray's dad. Next clue is, I've played for Blackburn, Huddersfield, Sheffield United, Derby, Ipswich, Coventry, and Bristol City at championship level.
It's not who we mentioned earlier, is it? It's not John Stead.
It fucking is, yeah. Do you know what?
So
Do you know
ridiculous.
what? Do you know what? You open with that and like
Your
you
whole
see-
world just collapsed around you.
you see it back on the video, and I think I rolled my eyes.
I did think to myself, you were being a bit quiet when we said that. I will point out, John Stead is running dangerously close to the Dexter Blackstock line.
No.
I would say.
When you've played for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 clubs at championship level, and have been cited as being a sole proprietor of a derby that we previewed today, then no, he's nowhere near the Dexter Blackstock rule, unfortunately.
Well, two things I'll say there is, first of all, if you're on the second tier Patreon /Discord, let us know what you think, whether John Stead qualifies for the Dexter Blackstock rule. And secondly, if you are listening to this podcast on Spotify or whatever, make sure you go watch it on YouTube just to look at Justin's face when we talked about John Stead earlier on in the show, because I can guarantee I'm going to be doing exactly that once this show is up. So there you go. What are the final clues, Justin, that you've got for us?
The next clue, I think, is a big giveaway.
Okay.
It is. It's quite a clever one, actually. I've been a strike partner for Andy Cole, Daryl Murphy, Paul Dickov, Steve Howard, Pablo Cunyago, Rob Hulse, and Freddie Eastwood.
There you go. What a list of strike partners there. That is a great list there.
You've got one more clue, and the final clue. I was recently a coach for Tampa Bay Rowdies in Florida before moving to Barnsley last season with former teammate Neil Collins before we both got sacked.
Oh, poor John Stead. But I tell you what, he's had a lot of airtime in this show, hasn't he?
Far too much.
But you know what? I'm here for it. Good old Johnny Stead getting a lot of airtime in there in this preview show. Brought to you by SBK here at the second tier, ladies and gents. And we'll be back again on Sunday to talk through a massive weekend of championship action. So we look forward to seeing you then for that. Just next time we do an episode, it'll be December. Bloody hell.
The downward spiral to Christmas.
Yep. Downward spiral is definitely one way of looking at it. So we look forward to seeing you then, and maybe we'll be an extra bit festive for that weekend show. I don't know how we're going to do that, but we'll figure something out anyway. This has been the Second Tier Podcast, ladies and gents. I have been Ryan Dilks.
I've been Justin Peach.
And a big thank you for listening.